Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast, our first episode post-ice, which is it's pretty fucking exciting. I'm certainly excited. I hope I sound excited. My name's John Bruford. I'm one of your hosts, joined by your other host, Fintan Costello. Fintan, hello.
Hello, John. I think I've just about recovered.
I'm not sure. Man, it was good, but it's an exhausting experience.
I was blown away because I was there the first day, about an hour before it officially opened. And just the size and the scale and the amount of people and everything that was going, it was just so huge. I was blown away, and you just like, Jesus Christ, you forget how big the gambling industry is and how much money there is to be made there. It was just, I got all tingly and I'm like, I'm going to make some money. It was very exciting. You just got to walk around and pick it up, really. It's great. There's just loads of money lying around. It's just there for free. So.
Yeah, I always turn up to London with a dustpan and brush and a chisel because there's just money everywhere.
Backing up the truck. Fill her up.
That's why I stayed in such a good hotel.
Really different lifestyle.
Chosen for its proximity to a McDonald's. Jesus.
We're at a Goodman steak restaurant around the corner from mine. Which is fantastic lunch. Yeah, it was very good.
Well, was that where you went on the day where I messaged you, the second day of ice, where I messaged you to say, are you coming to Excel today? And you said, lunch has gone on a bit longer than anticipated. I won't be turning up to Excel at all today. And I was like, wow, that's lunch.
It's even worse. I was playing golf at the time.
Dear God.
Yeah, so
Fintan, you've changed.
It was like one of those it was one, yeah. But you know what's really bad? The next day, so the Thursday, whatever it was. No, Tuesday. Yeah. So so I played golf. It was a golf simulator, right? So it's not like a real golf course or anything like that. And we think we got through like 5 holes or something ridiculous because we were all bad at golf. The next day, I was so sore. And I couldn't, just like all my core muscles were just like, Jesus Christ, like I'm really stiff, I'm really sore. And it's just from I'm so unfit. I can't believe it. Yeah, I got wrecked by the swing in a golf club.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really bad. But met lots of friends in the podcast, which was great.
Oh yeah. Who did you meet? Anybody that I know?
We did. Met the Stats Drones guys.
John, I didn't get there for that in time. Sorry about that. That was like the first thing you did on the first day.
It was literally the first meeting. It was literally because me and John are different personalities. So Fintan it was John and Daryl. Daryl was the other guy. Fintan had like everything planned out. And then John just like the morning of, hey, could you do? And I'm like, no, I'm fully booked. So he wings it. He's a free spirit, shoots from the hip. Fintan's a bit more organized and structured. And just
you're the one whose lunch fucking capsized your day, not me.
Did I have anything in the diary that I had to work around? No.
I didn't even have lunch. That's anyway, how packed my days were.
Let's not bicker in front of the audience. Daddy and Daddy still love each other. It's okay.
Actually, the one thing I do have to say, right? I had to get you. You do have very soft hands. You don't even have kettlebell calluses.
No, not anymore. Nothing.
I had to go to the North Hall organisers' offices a few times. And there were two ladies working in there. And the one that I dealt with the most was Janet. And those two ladies were fantastic. I mean, like, excuse me, the place you're going to go when you've got a problem is you're going to go to the organizer's office. And you couldn't have been met with better. You know, they were absolutely terrific. And I always think that kind of thing, the care and attention that you receive in that kind of a scenario is indicative of the culture, if you like. And they were brilliant. They were so brilliant.
But it makes sense. Like everybody we've dealt with at Clarion's been wonderful.
Like, yeah.
You know, the room and the setup and all the pre-stuff, you know, they're pros. They're pros.
Yeah, I was starting to think they'd done this exhibition thing before.
They've done it before. It's not their first rodeo.
But no, they were terrific. We gave out some swag.
Did you? You gave out some swag?
I gave out some swag, didn't I? So who got some swag? Ooh, I can't remember. So if you're listening to this and you got some swag,
did you dump it in the bin?
Send us. You must have had a paper round when you were a kid, Fintan.
Leaflets.
The trick in the summer is, of course, to dump them in a grit salt bin. But no, if you got some swag, if you got one of our mugs, because we had a little box of mugs there, then please take a photo of yourself drinking, supping from our cup.
Tag us, and we will then add you onto our swag beta testing program, where you receive future swag as we test stuff.
Oh, you're good. And we were talking swag just before we started recording. There's some good swag.
I've got some ideas.
Yeah, well, great incentive there.
I bumped into Frank up the Voort from Casino News. Actually coming back next week. It was hilarious. I was in the Hippodrome at about like 2 a.m. With a friend, having a quiet beer. And turn around and there's Frank and the entire Dutch affiliate mafia standing by trying to get a drink. So yeah, bumped into them.
Nice.
That was good. And then a load of others.
I was just doing work related things. So I had some gaming boardroom meetings and stuff. And
I met Kate for the first time.
Oh, yeah, she said you didn't recognize her. And I'm like, did you recognize him? Oh, well, I said, did you recognize him? She said, well, yeah, of course. I'm like, well, that's because he's got a distinctive hair. Whereas, you know.
It was a very Kate thing, though, because we bumped into each other in the VIP section. So it was very, she was having a very important meeting.
Do you know, if I've got one criticism of ICE, it's the VIP section.
It wasn't big enough?
It didn't work. Now I inquired of somebody at the event what the difference was, because last year it was really useful. It's like you could generally find a seat / table to sit down and do a meeting or whatever. This year, absolutely impossible. It was rammed most of the time. And I was told that the difference was that in previous years and I can't actually. I don't know whether this is true. In previous years, they gave stand holders 5 passes for using the VIP area, but apparently this year they just sold the VIP tickets, and it meant that it was not very V and not very I, but a lot of P. And it didn't really work. I think if you're going to do that, it's got to be a bigger area, because also it meant that there was basically a throng around the door as well, around the entrance. And it also meant that because there was a throng around the entrance, people were going in the side.
Yeah, so it was definitely kind of a meeting point, or I'll meet you outside the VIP area type thing.
But actually, the IGB lounge turned out to be better for sitting down and having a chat.
Yeah,
it's just 2 doors down.
Probably that. Not probably. Oh, okay. Anyway, I was only in there for a few minutes.
So I was doing high level meetings, and
Me too.
I did some podcast recordings. You were at least one of those.
I'm such a bad teammate.
And then I spent my evenings editing the podcast and publishing the podcast while you were in the Hippodrome with Frank.
That was like
Somebody's got to do the schmoozing though, Fintan, and somebody's got to do the donkey work. This is why you're a chairman and I'm a fucking chair.
yeah, it's because there was nothing in my diary, so there was nothing booked. So I it's not in the diary. It doesn't.
But it all worked. But well, to be fair, I did put things in the podcast diary for recordings, but you didn't necessarily see that.
Yeah, I don't use that one anymore.
Oh, good. That's great.
See what John has to put up with, people. See what I've got more time and less fucks to give. It's
So I did a bit of that, but then Thursday I had to drive home through horrendous weather. I mean, it was really, really bad, and it pissed it down from London all the way to Wales. I mean, and it was absolutely hammering it down. It wasn't raining; it was hammering it down the entire distance.
Bad weather on the Thursday.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, motorways drain really well generally. So the motorways, in terms of surface water, were fine. So
country back roads where you live, I'd say it was like
the last hour was a little different. And of course, everybody else is in a fucking 4x4 or a pickup or whatever. It's just me that isn't.
Blinding you through the window. And,
yeah, it was good. Enjoyed it. But I made it back. I didn't die. So that was good. So there were some podcast highlights. So we did 3 episodes in the week. The last one went out on Friday because I got back quite late on Thursday, and then the cat accosted me.
Sorry, just we doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
And
John did 3 episodes. Tell us all about it, John.
But we did. But there was some really interesting stuff. I mean, Kyle from Tester. I mean,
really cool product.
But why hasn't anybody done that before? It's fantastic.
There's a few, but it's more he's gone gaming specific, which is the key bit, right? Because you want people who can actually like if you go to say usertesting.com or something like that, they'll do it, but they get a bit iffy. They charge a fortune. So I think for Kyle's product, it's like just like we do gambling, and we will test it to such an extreme extent compared to everybody else. And then because he brings that industry expertise to it, you get much more detail much quicker, which is super important. So like I've been talking to him since, and it's kind of like, if you're a country manager sitting in Malta and you're wondering why your conversion rates in Canada aren't so great, it's probably like we've seen things like your verification text message is actually taking 30 minutes to go through rather than 3 seconds. So there can be loads of so just having boots on the ground, and then obviously the US, where you need somebody in Pennsylvania, you need somebody in Ohio, Michigan, etc., makes a huge impact too. So yeah, it's a really cool service. I'm a big fan of him, and I think he's going to do great stuff.
He's a nice chap as well, and we had a chat about Terry Fox. I can't help it whenever a Canadian comes on. Yeah, we had the nice man from Optimove on as well, which I appreciate. Somebody might look at that and think, oh, they're sponsors, that's why they're on. No, it's actually because we thought it'd be really interesting. And what I said to him is, what I said to him is that, we'll kind of treat this like the opening conversation, if you like, because I want him to come back on because I think you'd like him. Because it's basically, nerds fire off each other.
Appreciate that. I wish I was at his nerd level. No, but this is the Optimove guys have been great because their brief was clear in terms of we don't want to advertise and we don't want to be seen to be like trying to push some sort of big advertising message. So they're very aware of that, which is great. But no, it's look. The whole brief of the podcast is bring on experts in their area and have them go into great details about what they do. That's the key thing. And Penny and the guys at OptiMove are a great example of that. And then they were showing us all the data and stuff as well that they've got. There's some really cool stuff. Ooh, it's exciting.
Yeah, there's some very, very cool stuff. And, you know, it's, as we've said before, it is a phenomenal product. And it's really interesting seeing a group that are, you see a lot of bluster and you see a lot of bullshit. And they have massive confidence in their product because it's out there performing. And it's like, you know, I'm sure they've had their teething troubles, but the confidence that they have in the product, the absolute faith they have in the product, you know, it's a different kind of selling. Let's put it that way, because they know that they've just got to show people what it's like.
It's not that they woke up this morning going, oh, we're going to slap AI on something and go start making some money. Like, they've been doing this for years, like a long time, just grinding away, just worrying about one thing.
You make them sound like pole dancers. No, in a good way.
But I'm a huge, yeah, okay, they're artists. Great story about that. But we'll save that for the live show. I'm a huge fan of consistency over time. So people consistently focusing on one thing for a long period of time. When you look at everybody who's had great success, that's literally the boring answer of just, we've been doing this and worrying about this for a very, very long time. And OptiMove are a great example. But so are Clarion. Look at, like, you know, ice just doesn't happen the way it happens. Like, this is just relentless focus for a huge amount of time. And you get results like that. And if you can point to anybody who's had success, and literally it's the same thing. It's the boring answer. It doesn't sell any books, though. So.
What about the people that haven't had success, Fintan? Is it just because they're new to it? Me, for example.
Look, there's consistency over time. That's a thing. Yeah. And then, you know, there's a dollop of luck. That definitely helps. And timing, you know, there is always other factors. But you do need the consistency there.
Me personally, or
everybody?
Oh, okay. So not just me then. That's good.
Not just you, man. Not just you.
Great. Thanks for that. Who have we got on the episode?
We have the newly crowned, newly appointed, newly promoted,
newly minted.
Minted. Oh, just like you peel off the little kind of plastic protective film. I love that. So satisfying. The newly minted CEO of OddsJam.com, Matt Restivo. Restivo, did I get that right?
Yeah, Restivo.
Super bloke. Really smart guy. So OddsJam are a kind of, odds comparison is probably too basic a word on it, but they've got these really cool kind of betting tools. Spots arbitrage opportunities, betting opportunities, plus EV type stuff. A whole bunch of things that they got. Really, really smart stuff. Guys behind the company are ex traders from like some of the big American. Actually, it's a firm I used to work for, which is funny. Small word. So super, super smart guys, like the smartest guys in the room. They got these really cool tools. Hugely popular, helping people make money, which is always nice. They're going to go international, which is pretty cool. And then Matt's a really interesting bloke as well. He's super fit. He's got some crazy marathon stats, and he's Ironman and all sorts. And yeah, really cool guy. It was lovely to get the chat to him.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. So, let's go and meet Matt. We're joined by this week's first guest, I think. It's hard to tell, though, because we do things out of order in so many ways. we are joined by the superbly named Matt Restivo, CEO of OddsJam. Matt, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, damn. I just lost you for the last 20 seconds. It's perfect start.
That's okay, though.
But
I
don't know if you noticed, I was doing the head nod.
It was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
I picked up on that.
I did see that. These are some of the tips and tricks we use in the trade. So, Matt, thank you very much for joining us. Now, Matt, we have a little questionnaire that people fill out before we start. Before we come to a recording now, and this is all down to Fintan having a small amount of time in his hands and also very kindly having accepted the nomination to the role of chairman for the Gambling Files podcast. And Fintan's he's introduced some automation to make things a little easier, a little sexier, and that's one of the things that Fintan's introduced. Now, what we've gleaned from that is that, Matt, you're a keen runner, and your 13th New York Marathon this year.
Yeah, this past year. That's exactly right.
So you've done 13.
So I've done 13. In New York, there is I don't know if it's a secret, but if you run 15 New Yorks, you're actually in for life. The first 15, you have to find a way to qualify either by time, either by running 9 New York City races, or by running for some sort of charity. But I've been fortunate enough to do a mix and run each of the last 13 years consecutively since 2009.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's good.
There was a couple of years they canceled, obviously COVID, and there was Hurricane Sandy in I think 2012. But yeah, I don't have a lot of time either, Fintan. It's funny because people feel like there's a lot of experts in the podcast space talking about longevity, and probably a lot more material I should be paying attention to. But I tend to stick to the simple regimen of eat well, work out, and sleep well. So hopefully that pays dividends down the line, but we'll see. We're never going to know.
Well, something we were talking about before we started recording was Fintan's hat, which for those of you watching in black and white says the legendary Marathon des Sables, the 7-day ultramarathon across the Sahara Desert that Fintan, he doesn't like to talk about, but he did it a couple of years ago, ticking something off his bucket list. I guess you probably call it a bucket list item.
Yeah. It was I've set a goal to do all the major ultramarathons. So MDS was the easiest one to get into because you didn't have to qualify for it. It's just the check cleared, basically. It's very different. Last year I did for my birthday, I did 105k race in Sweden, which is a qualifier for UTMB. So UTMB is next on the target list, which is Ultra Trail Mont Blanc. So it's 100 miles up and over the Mont Blanc range in the Alps.
So have they discovered what's wrong with your brain that you want to do these things?
It's definitely, so my joke used to be it's cheaper than therapy until somebody pointed out that therapy would be quicker. So it's ruined that joke for me. It's a very good call when you say it like that. It keeps the demons quiet, I think is probably the best way to describe it. They're too tired. They're too tired. That's it.
You shut them down. Had you run marathons prior, or did you go right into this ultra?
No, I built up. So I did literally when my son was born, I couldn't run 100 meters. So I was in my 30s, and I just having a kid changes a lot of things in your life, and I didn't want to be the fat dad in the playground kind of thing. So I downloaded a couch to 5K app and just followed the training program for a few months. and did like a 5K run. And then I signed up for a race, and then I've just slowly, so they always recommend in running, there's kind of two routes. You're either going to take it, you're going to fall in love with a particular distance and try and do it faster, or you're just going to keep going longer. I'm not particularly fast because I'm a chunky guy.
Husky, I believe the Americans call it.
Husky, that's it. I like husky. It works in both levels. I'm definitely more of a husky. So just like, okay, I've done a 5K. What about 10K, half marathon, 50K, blah, 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 blah. And so it kind of just escalates from there.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah.
And how long did it take you from couch to ultra?
I had a diversion via the world of triathlon for a while first. So the original goal was to do an Ironman, but I'm a really bad swimmer, so I had to go learn how to swim, and then I basically drowned on my first sprint race, and I had to be rescued. I got like 20 meters, and just waterboarded myself in the open water. So I forced them to rescue me, which was just hilarious. And then I got some open, because I realized then it was my first like open water swim, and like I didn't realize I wouldn't be able to see anything in the water, and I'm touching stuff, and I basically freaked out.
It's freaky.
It was very different. So I got a bunch of open water swimming lessons, did a bunch of basically a bunch of I'd learned to, not only had I just learned to swim, I can only do freestyle, so I can't breaststroke, I can't even tread water. I've got nothing, right? All I can do is freestyle or like roll over on my back and just like float. Like that's my two things I can do. Like, so I shouldn't even be allowed in the water. It's not safe. So I did a bunch of sprint races, and then I'm like, right, I'm going to train for the Ironman. But what I'll do is I'll go do a bunch of running first and just like build up my running, where doing a marathon's not a big deal. And living in the Netherlands, cycling's super easy as well. And then I can really focus on the swimming and then just kind of put it all together. And then I realized how much easier just running is. So you don't need to worry about your bike and flat tires and 10-hour bike rides or getting to a swimming pool and blah, 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 blah. And like, because the only time you get swimming pool is like super early in the morning. And then just running is just like, oh, I just need shorts, t-shirt, trainers, and I'm off. And so just the logistics of running was just so much easier. And it's compared to cycling, it's so much more time efficient. You know, a 1 hour run or a 3 hour bike ride. And like when you're trying to be a husband, you're trying to be a father, you're trying to, you know, not get sacked. Those kind of time commitments become really important, of like, all right, I'll just go do sprints or something like that. So it was definitely, running just became I still want to do an Ironman, but just I need a bit more space in my life, which I still don't have yet. So well, maybe.
That makes sense. That's inspiring. I can definitely relate. The days of dragging yourself to the pool and you're just like, oh, am I really doing this right now?
So you've done Ironman races. Which ones have you done?
I've done one. I think I might be one and done. I did Mont Tremblant in Canada. It was beautiful, but I mean, the training is just so brutal. And I did that when I was single, no kids. You know, there was a lot more available to me. I tend to think like, you know, it is funny when you show up to these races because you got all these like executives who spend, you know, tons of money on really nice bikes and then they can't cycle. But I do reckon it is something you have to have a lot of time in your life to be able to train for it.
Yeah, and the challenge with triathlon as well is you've got like all the gadgets. So like it's the bike, but it's it's the aero bike, it's the power meter, it's the tri-suit, the wetsuit, it's a nerd gadget kind of heaven sport as well, because there's always
Fintan. It's a posh kid sport.
Yeah,
it is. There is no getting around that. Triathlon and tennis, posh kid sports. Now, I have been admirably restrained while you two have been talking about your athletic prowess, because I am old. My body is broken. However, I had a very strange conversation with the doctor this week, which I'm going to share with you. I'm going to say, fuck you, Hippocratic Oath. So
was that rash flared up again? Is it?
I had a bunch of tests done. I had a blood test done. I had an X-ray done, and I'd asked for the X-ray to see the progression of osteoarthritis in my hips. Right. So I go to the nearish hospital in Landrindod Wells. It's a real place, and I get the X-ray done. There was no waiting around or anything. It was brilliant, lovely people, and I chased it up with the doctors. And they phoned me up yesterday, and he said, "Look, if I'd got your test results, I'd be over the moon." I'm like, "Okay, right." So he's like, "There's no trace of any rheumatoid arthritis or anything like that in you. You're good." I'm like, "Fuck yes." He said, "PSA levels through the floor," which for anybody not in the know, that's about enlarged prostates and things like that. And he said, and I checked the X-ray, and there is no sign of osteoarthritis in your X-ray.
Oh, you're going to start running again? Are you back?
Well, thing is, it's an X-ray, not an MRI.
Oh, okay.
And the simple truth is there is pain. But he reckons that the pain might be coming from my back and be referred pain in my hips.
Oh.
So his words were, I said, because I was given the diagnosis by a doctor who didn't put it in my record. And I just assumed that was because she was busy, overworked, human error. What I believe may have actually happened is I went in, explained symptoms. She was like, "Oh, that'd be osteoarthritis, that." Get the X-ray done. She probably didn't even look at the fucking X-ray. And she's like, yeah, osteoarthritis. Yeah. Oof. And that was that. Didn't go in my records. When I moved to a new GP, I went to get some painkillers, and they're like, "What do you want painkillers for?" And I'm like, "It was for a muscle thing." But I'm like, I don't want to fucking explain all that. Oh, I've got arthritis. Like, where? Same place I had it before. Well, we got no record of you having arthritis. And I'm like, for fuck's sake. But I had the conversation. They took it on good faith, as I had. And apparently it was all bollocks. I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm not getting it. It doesn't mean that it's not waiting down the line. It means that right now I'm actually in fucking great shape because I've just done 5 years of strength and conditioning on my fucking hips.
All I'm hearing is that we're going to go for a run next week at Ice. That's all I'm hearing.
That is a bit of a leap. I could probably manage 2 or 3 miles.
That'll do.
Probably. Maybe. But where? Because I'm staying in Paddington. You're staying in probably Buckingham Palace, Fintan.
No. Charles was full. He had no space for me.
Friend of the podcast.
I'm in old Charlie boy and Chucky. I'm in Canary Wharf. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Staying
shitty
close.
Old Canary Wharf.
Staying close.
Yeah. Well, that's the trick. See, the trick is, right, you want to be closer to XL for the morning time, so you've got less of a commute when you want to like sleep to the last possible minute, because when you're in the city centre in London, it's much easier to get back late at night to Canary Wharf in a taxi. You see, so that's you don't want to be like, if I stay central, that's really cool for like late night stuff, but you've then got that commute out to XL.
This is why you're a chairman.
You got to do the reverse. Like an Uber at 3 a.m. is fine because it'll just barrel through the city and you're back in 20 minutes. So
I plan on keeping East Coast time, so we're staying in Soho, and this is my second ice. But all I can remember last year was a long cab rides, and hopefully I'm in a good spot to keep East Coast time. I feel like it should be good.
Just
Are
don't
you,
sleep. That's the
are
trick.
you around Canary Wharf as well, Matt? Sorry.
I'm going to stay in Soho.
Okay. That's a good location.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not too bad.
It's fun. It's
30,
my
40
spiritual
minutes.
home. It's my spiritual home. I'll be spending a lot of time at the Toucan pub in Soho. So
I
Guinness.
years ago, Matt, I used to work in Soho because Soho is traditionally where all of the UK pornographers are based.
Yeah, that's why I'm staying there.
Were back in the day, not anymore. But that when I worked in the adult industry, that was where I was based. Although I actually worked for 2 porn publishers. One was in Canary Wharf, one was in Soho. So you've both covered all of my porn bases.
Yeah, I'm just here for the history. I mean, I was confused. People were out drinking. I mean, I would wake up at noon or something like that last year, and I feel like maybe I'd bang out a little work at the hotel, and then 3:00 there are people drinking beers on the street. That's a nice tradition.
Well, that's just London as well. That like a beer at lunchtime is very normal in London.
Yeah, well, you've got all the ad companies, all the media companies in Soho, and
creative agencies,
lunches.
and it's quite normal. Anyway, I think we've talked about everything, and we should talk about Matt. So, Matt, you are the CEO, founder, OddsJam.com.
Yeah, CEO.
Tell us a little bit about OddsJam and what you guys are doing. Oh,
Yeah,
actually, I'll tell you what. But yeah, let's do that. And then what I'd like to do is I always love the kind of the founder's like hero's journey story arc. So tell a little bit about OddsJam and then go back to the beginning of like why, how, what happened to get you where you are today, to be talking to us. As the climax of that story.
It's all downhill from here. The mission at OddsJam is to bring the best data tools and educational content to sports bettors. To date, we've been in the US, but our goal is to take that international this year, and we're excited about that. My story, so there are 2 co-founders in the business. One named Alex Monahan, who's, I would say, semi-famous on Twitter. He's probably had almost 100,000 followers, dominates gambling Twitter. And then actually his hometown friend, Ankit Goyal. So they were both co-founders of the business. They were 2 childhood buddies, Stanford roommates. And they actually, Ankit had a company before called Sirona Medical, which was like AI radiology software. They raised a lot of money. And then ultimately in COVID, Ankit ended up going a different direction and repaired with his college roommate, who was really living in Pennsylvania at the time, working for a pretty famous trading firm called SIG. And he had just
I worked for SIG years ago.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
It wasn't a trade. I was a backroom admin monkey. A completely different experience at SIG, but cool. Sorry.
I mean, you know how ruthless the trading room is.
Yeah.
He was in Pennsylvania, on the border of Pennsylvania and New Jersey, when sports betting was just getting legalized in the U.S. And what he really discovered was the analog between trading, daily trading for stocks and equities, et cetera, compared to the quote unquote financial market that is sports betting in the U.S. And so the 2 paired up to launch the business in early 2021. I think it was incorporated in April 2021. So it's just coming up on its 3-year-old birth date. And then part of that was building out the first sort of subscription tools. And what OddsJam really is to the world is it's the Bloomberg terminal for sports betting. We basically find bets from the broadest data set in the industry, and then educate consumers on betting strategies. So that's a lot of mission whiteboard words that you probably hear in an office. But what it really means is we help people identify value in the market. And so if you could imagine a coin, right? If there were a coin that were weighted, 55% to land on heads, 45% to land on tails, you'd be hard pressed to identify that by actually just looking at the coin. And what our software does effectively is we have the ability to look at the coin and identify value in the market by comparing and understanding where the market is on certain sports books and markets versus others. And so when you're playing in a competitive landscape in the US as a consumer, where there's at times, 5, 10, 22 sports books as there are here in Colorado, it leaves a lot of opportunity for a sports book to sort of be off on one particular market. And that's how our software helps sports bettors win money.
So okay, so is it looking at, like, is your tool like create, okay, this is what we think fair value is, or is it spotting kind of arbitrage opportunities in the market?
It's a little bit of both. So we have tools for both of those. Our most popular tool is our positive EV tool, where we have an algorithm that identifies those positive EV bets, those 55% weighted coins, to stick with that example. Or if you're a poker player, it's like, if you'd play pocket queens against ace king every time, even though, one is 54 to, 46 or whatever the exact number is. But yeah, that's our most popular tool in the market.
Got it. And okay, so with a tool, like we'll do the foundation stuff in a minute, but with a tool like that, okay, so with a tool like that, it helps gamblers find plus EV bets, which is fantastic. Obviously, when we look at a regulated regulated US market, it's not like, say, the UK or other countries where there's like hundreds of sports books to choose from. So we know sports books have a tendency to limit winners. So if you're living in a state where there's like 6 sports books to choose from, is there a chance, like, quite quickly you're limited or you're restricted on 6 sports books pretty quickly? Or is the US taking a different, are US bookies taking a different thing of like winners are okay and this is a sustainable thing?
Yeah, there are some that are taking the action no matter what. Certainly people do get limited, but we have a lot of strategies actually built into the software that help people avoid getting limited. However, that's certainly a concern, right? So if you're in like Florida is a great example, huge state right now. There's only one sports book, and it's Hard Rock. So that's a tough market to use our software in. But certainly we feel we can help in other ways, but that's definitely tough. But I think there has been an overwhelming sense of competition, whether it's New Jersey, Colorado, even a state like Ohio, where there may not be hundreds of sports books, but certainly dozens. It's been encouraging to watch it flourish. And then the other side of the business that's worth touching on is the burgeoning fantasy pick'em space. So Prize Picks and Underdogs are 2 massively popular tools where effectively you're building. You're building. I mean, it's not a parlay, but you're building basically like a 6-leg betting slip.
It's not a
right.
It's not a parlay. Inverted commas.
I got to make sure I put the right disclaimers in there before I get hit up by our partners. But yeah, you're picking 6 picks. It's very easy. Let me tell you, you're picking 6 picks. But all of those picks have fixed payouts, right? So if you're playing a 5-pick slip or a 6-pick slip, the odds for each leg would be fixed at minus 139. And what you can actually do with ours, we built some software for these products as well that actually helps you find the value in the market. So if a very sharp book, Pinnacle, Circa, if they actually have a particular leg at minus 175, minus 180, that there's value. That you're getting value. And so we help you basically build slips for those games. And those games they've proliferated the US really quickly. Because consumers love them. They're just fun. People want a low cost, high potential return. I sometimes call them lottery ticket type games with outcomes dependent upon the sport. So we saw that as a major trend last year and invested heavily in tools for those platforms.
Okay. So All right, so you've got these different products. You got your plus EV betting product. You've got your DFS type, helping you find value, doing those kind of things. That sounds really clever, really smart. So it would suggest there's a ton of technology and smart stuff happening behind it. But like, what's the team? What's happening behind the scenes? How are you spotting all these opportunities, or like, how are you taking all this together with the data? Because effectively, you're a data business, right?
We're a data business. Yeah, data is our moat. I didn't pay Fintan to say that or tee that up whatsoever, but no, that's ultimately the core asset of the business is our ability to ingest as many markets as we can from as many sports books. We basically pull in data from over 200 sports books. We have great relationships with the sports books. We have the markets that we cover are so broad and deep, and a big piece of our sort of secret sauce and expertise is the ability to mirror what a market looks like from book to book, right? Because that's ultimately mapping those things across one another is one of the most challenging components, because everybody names markets a little bit differently. First
Sure.
touchdown scorer versus one ST touchdown scorer. In the US, like all of those tiny little nuances across all the sports books. That's a small component, not the secret sauce, but definitely an arduous task that we've taken up. But yeah, that's our and the key component. This is now I think our third rewrite of our sort of ingest technology, and we're always trying to get that latency down, because markets move quickly, and that's important to our customers, is making sure that our latency is low and our coverage is broad and deep. And you asked about the team as well. I should touch on that. We've got a team of about 30 people at OddsJam. We've got certainly the best. I've been really fortunate in my career to work at places like ESPN, BAMTech. We ran all of direct consumer streaming services for everybody from PGA Tour, MLB, HBO, Hulu, WWE. The list goes on. If you were streaming in the years of like 2010 to 2017, you were probably using BAMTech's tech. But this is the best engineering team I've ever worked with. It's a very small, tight-knit team. Everybody takes their job super seriously. One of our one of our values, not necessarily applicable to all companies, but it works for us, is no out of offices. That's what we talk about, that one a lot. Like, we're not trying to work people 24/7, but ultimately it's one of those things where you're just never going to get an out of office message from anybody who works at OddsJam, because we're always kind of paying attention, and everybody takes all of the work that they do really seriously with a lot of ownership. And so we totally believe in the value of stepping away and running in the desert for 7 days. But we also know that our customers are always on. So we've kind of always got to be paying attention.
Brilliant. That's really interesting. So in terms of like, who's your target demographic? Is it like big bettors who are happy to put, thousands either side to lock in a profit? Is it the more recreational punter with $20 in their pocket, or what's the kind of the sweet spot for you guys?
There's products for all bettors. I think what we are working on now is, really getting the word out there. What we find is that people who are playing on the fantasy sites, the fantasy pick'em sites, they tend to be younger. They tend to be a lot younger. Those products are at times available to people who are 19, 20 years old. And we have a low cost product for those folks. I think the most, what I always like to talk about there, Fintan, is just like, who are the most successful customers for us, right? And I think what we see, poker players really get it. They understand that, this is a market. They understand variance. They understand, this is a long-term play, right? You may not get every outcome that you want. But they definitely understand it's better than following like your traditional 1-900 gambler tout. People who are into side hustles, people who are options traders, that kind of like there's sort of a there is sort of like a light bulb that or there's some kind of switch in the brain, kind of like there's a switch for our running suffering capabilities, I'll call them, that people just get it really quickly, and those are the most successful customers. And then there's people out there who really don't know anything about sports betting. We have there's a woman named Marie. She's awesome. You can find her kind of on our Twitter, but she's out there as an OddsJam affiliate and advocate, basically talking about how she didn't know shit about sports betting when she got into it. She followed our educational content. She followed sort of the methodology, or the strategies and methodologies that we explained. She subscribed to our software. She set up a call with our team. We have an awesome customer success team who will actually hop on the phone with you and help you kind of get over any humps that you may be running into. And she just, as she says it, she would bet while she waited in line at Starbucks every day. She would take 15 minutes while she's waiting for her latte to be prepared, and she would just place a few bets, and she found basically the 30 minutes a day, and ultimately, as the story she tells it is, she made $1,500 a month basically, leveraging our software, and did it really successfully. So I think the answer is kind of there's a universe of types of people, poker players, option traders, side hustle folks, who this appeals to very quickly. But it's also really important to us to basically make this accessible to everybody. And that's why we lean so hard into education and try to explain these concepts to people, because once you get it, it's like a light bulb goes on and it clicks. Whereas you can just be, if you're betting with your gut, like it's pretty dumb. Like, do you really think your gut is better than the hundreds of people and the, terabytes and terabytes of data that are being ingested every day by each one of these sports books? These sports books are basically working really, really hard to make this market a challenge for you. And if you think your gut is going to win that because you watched the game, you're not going to beat the sports books in the long term.
Which is like stock market trading, right? You're not going to beat the guys at Susquehanna or Citadel or whatever. And so
the only strategy though that's popular in the US is if you just bet against whatever Kramer says.
the reverse ETF's losing money. So there's a Kramer reverse ETF, which basically does the opposite of whatever he recommends. And I think year to date it's down.
Damn. I need to go do some stuff right now. Sorry guys. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. So what you're saying is, look, it's a super powerful toolbox, and depending on your mindset or kind of the level of effort or your background and experience, you can kind of dip in, take what you need and make it work for you. So I suppose, given then that the things are going so well and it's so powerful for your customers, like, have you had like sports books trying to sign up to try and get the inside track so they can move their lines, or have you any problems with that yet?
It's funny. We actually haven't. We've certainly had a few folks who, I met one guy at ICE who I'll see again, next week. But he says, hey, I love your team, but I hate your customers. And I think that, that we always talk about this because we don't see the value perspective. We don't see the same value perspective that they do. A lot of people also, they come across our business and they think that everybody's sharp, which, listen, our customers are sharper than most. But I always think there's a funny example of, we talk about betting with your gut and just how inefficient it is. I think 95% of the company still bets with their gut because they just enjoy sports, right? They just want to have fun and they just want to have a little action on the game. So I know that if I can't get this team to only bet on the market, it must be really hard to get the world to only bet the market. So yeah, I think it's a combination of also the fact that, listen, if you're in this space, if you're approaching this, you probably have a propensity or at least maybe not an affinity, but certainly you're open to the idea of gambling. It is gambling.
Yeah, look, and that's the thing, because even if they, like, there's famous, like Betfair years ago had casino games with no house edge, and it was going to be the whole thing. They stopped doing it because it didn't matter. Nobody was playing perfect strategy. So you had this like amazing product with literally no house edge, and it actually didn't matter. So I think there's like, they'll use the tools and then they'll get bored, or they think they've got an insight or something, the tool's wrong, and then they'll go off scripts, and that makes sense, because gamblers at heart are risk takers, right? It's built into
risk takers. Yeah,
it's built into the.
I believe that is what gambling is.
It is exactly. But it's good to say it out loud as well, because I think we kind of forget that where it's not economist style rational beings making rational decisions. It's risk takers who get it wrong.
When you say economist style, do you mean the style of the publication, or in the style of economists?
Yeah, in academic economists. So you've got like the rational person making rational decisions all of the time. And then that's why it led into like behavioral economics, which is more kind of, okay, you got the economic theory, but then you've got the psychology of how people really behave. And so behavioral economics is actually far more interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, nerd alert.
This is why you're a chairman.
This is what I think about when I run. There's a book
Stop
about
running,
that too.
Fintan. Stop running.
Yeah. Brilliant. So what's next for OddsJam? What's on the what can you reveal about the roadmap for the next 12 months?
Well, we're always improving our tools. We're always exploring new ones that we can be building and new partnerships. We're really bullish on everything that's being talked about around South America. I think we'll have some exciting developments this year, but our goals really are to constantly expand our product suite, grow our qualified audience, right? Grow the people who can really understand this. Not necessarily talk to the Taylor Swift fans of the world, but at least talk to people who would be willing to invest some time and learn about what we're all about, and then really focusing on. And this is going to sound talk about nerd alert, but really diving deep into sort of like the new user experience. What we find. That we run a subscription business. It's no secret there's churn in subscription businesses. For us, fortunately, we have a lot of reactivation, people who have success with the product, take a break for baseball season, but end up coming back for the following football season. But what we're really zooming in on right now, both behaviorally and from a data perspective, is what are people doing when they start the product, and how do we get them to the magic moment of understanding how powerful these tools can be as quickly, as often as possible.
That makes sense, right? So the second I've made my first profit, like you're a
from
customer
our
for
tools,
life, then then you're a customer
like,
for life. So,
this
okay,
works.
I get this. Yeah. That makes sense. That's cool.
And
that's an interesting challenge different as well, right?
Yeah, it's really challenging, and we're doing, it's like amalgamation of customer interviews and then popping annoying shit into the product that people don't necessarily want to see, but that's really helpful for us. And yeah, that's a big focus for us in the next 3 to 6 months.
Brilliant. So you're going to be at ICE. So if anybody wants to meet you at ICE and have a chat and do a product demo and stuff, they should hit you up on email address,
Twitter.
social media.
They could, they can email me. I'll give you my email. They can hit me on Twitter. I'll be at ICE. I'll be hanging around the floor Tuesday and Wednesday. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to meet you guys in the flesh. That would be awesome. And but yeah, we're definitely welcome a lot of chats.
Maybe pick yourself up a nice little laptop sticker. Picked up the worst one there. Maybe pick yourself up a nice laptop sticker.
There we go. Look at that. Magic.
I'm gonna have to rush order some laptop stickers, because I didn't even think about that, JB, for us. I mean, we've got, actually I have a mug, but mugs are quite annoying to travel with, but that's about the extent of our swag. That's really elite.
You could do jam, you could do preserves.
OddsJam. Honey. Now you're talking. That would be the hot ticket at ICE.
That's pretty good. I guess we do blueberry. Oh, beautiful.
What were we saying about mugs?
Well, you could do a mug swap. You could do a mug swap. That could happen.
I think these are going to be quite the thing at ICE. And I think we're going to be besieged.
How many of those do you have?
We can send one directly to you. You don't even have to carry it in your hand luggage.
It's a good call.
Yeah, that's okay. We have the technology.
Yeah, the world's come a long way. Yeah. So you're exhibiting at ICE.
We're actually not. We don't have a space on the floor or anything like that. We just we go and try to take over that Starbucks. That's our move whenever we go to these big conferences.
Yeah, there's plenty of places to sit as well. I'll be in the VIP area with my VIP pass.
Waving at both of us.
Yeah, looking down on us.
Somehow I wasn't on the VIP list. I didn't get one.
I'll be passing Fintan out some of the whichever nuts I don't fancy eating, or the ones that I've just taken all the salt off.
Pre-licked.
That's what I'm gonna do. That's how I'm gonna spend my days. But we're very excited about ICE, and very happy to hear that you'll be there, Matt. But I was going to push for you.
Sorry. Actually, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna reverse it back a little bit. I just realized Matt was talking about like customer retention and getting people to that first kind of profitable bet and stuff. Matt needs to go talk to the guys at OptiMove, who've got some amazing sponsor of the podcast. But definitely go to OptiMove and get the demo.
If Matt doesn't already know OptiMove, then Matt, honestly, you're doing your team a disservice.
Am I fired already? Damn.
As a data company, you're going to love what they're doing and how they'll basically automate your CRM for you and take care of all of those churn issues.
It is genuinely, Matt. So Matt, when they came on board, and we said,
I'll send an email. I'll send an email afterwards, and I'll introduce you.
When they came on board, awesome. they said we want to do a product demo. So we had an hour and a quarter product demo, and we both came out of it just going, "Fuck."
Yeah,
it's just like
it's really
fucking hell.
Really cool.
That's the reaction you want.
Do heartily recommend getting a demo, and I'm not saying that because they're our sponsors. I'm saying that because I saw the product and I just went, "Holy shit." 56% of the EGR top 50 can't be wrong, can they, Fintan?
Exactly. Well, they could be, but they're not in this case.
Yeah, it's statistically unlikely to be.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, really looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate the opportunity.
Let's do this. And Matt, don't forget, stay metal. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Gambling Files podcast, please find us on LinkedIn. Give us a big, juicy, succulent like. That nearly went wrong. You can find us under the name The Gambling Files Podcast. You can find us on Twitter under The Gambling Files. I think the handle is just @GamblingFiles. You can connect to myself, John Bruford, or Fintan Costello, also on LinkedIn. We're also both on Twitter. And you can find all of our previous episodes at www.thegamblingfiles.com. If you enjoyed it, please share, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.